Good day, everyone. Today, Group 3 will discuss about learners in difficult circumstances and learners with chronic illnesses. First, let's discuss about learners in difficult circumstances.
Good day everyone. Now I am going to tackle about learners in difficult circumstances. As we all know, not all children are fortunate enough to receive an environment which is conducive to provide appropriate development opportunities. That is why there is really the need to protect some children due to their specific socioeconomic and political circumstances and their geographical locations. They are more vulnerable in terms of the risk to their right of survival, development, protection, and participation. Learners in difficult circumstances are a world problem. They suffer from deprivation, exploitation, and neglect for no fault of their own and for reasons beyond their control. It is an innermost global social concern that has attracted the attention of the entire world community, ranging from professionals in the various fields of pediatrics, social work, psychology, and psychiatry to legislators, administrators, and politicians. So under learners in difficult circumstances, first we have learners living in remote places. Remote places are those areas which are very far from the urban areas and are isolated community from highly populated settlements. So basically, these are the learners from the far-flung areas, especially in barrios who walks kilometer away from their house to the school because there's a lack of transportation going to school. So here are the challenges for the children in remote areas. First is children walks long and dangerous journey to school. So yung iba is dumadaan pa ng bundok, yung iba tumatawid pa ng ilog para makapunta sa school nila. Second is rural schools need better infrastructure. Next is teachers need training in children's health and hygiene, physical distance of students to school. Next is difficulty finding teachers interested in relocating. Next is poor internet connection, poverty, and lastly, educators required to be entrepreneurs. So, enriching students or children in remote locations, teachers can provide them free educational resources via offline access, text-based, SMS teaching, smart textbooks. So in that way, mas madali and accessible siya for everyone. So next is victims of war. Grave violations are committed against children and youth in over 20 war affected countries from Asia, Middle East, and Africa to Latin America. Girls and boys are killed, orphaned, abducted, deprived of education and health care, sexually violated, and left with deep emotional and physical scars. Children lose the opportunity for education during war. Yung iba naging disabled just because of war. And yung iba is they loss of line, sight, or cognitive capacity. Some lose the opportunity of schooling and social life. Next is the product of broken family. The effects of broken homes may impact greatly on the internal organization of the family, and by extension, it affects a child's emotion, personality, and academic achievement. Slowed academic development is another way that separation of the parents affects children. The emotional stress, if a divorce alone can be enough to stunt the children's academic progress, but the lifestyle changes and instability of a broken family can contribute to poor educational outcomes. This can seriously affect the performance of the students, in particular to their attendance. Next is street children or children from impoverished family. So this is categorized by two. First is children of the street, and children on the street. Children of the street refers to children who are homeless, and streets are their source of livelihood, while the children on the street who work and live on the streets in the daytime but return back home at night where they sleep. The reasons why there is a family or children living in the streets because of poverty. They are unable to pay for housing, food, childcare, healthcare, and can't even send their child to school because of their status. Poverty really impacts education, but lack of government and non-government organizations provide alternative education for street children. They are funding for street children to provide them different activities and programs such as dance, music, sports, circus, skills, and art projects as ways to draw street children in learning. This can then provide pathways into more mainstream education. And lastly, victims of abuse. Sexual abuse and exploitation exist all over the world and has devastating consequences for the victimized child. Trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation in children have grown with the increased globalization. So approximately 4 million cases of child abuse and neglect involving almost 7 million children are reported each year. So abusive behavior comes in any form. It could be physical, psychological, sexual abuse, but the common denominator is the emotional effect on the child. So we as a future educator, we should bear in mind that we classroom teachers has a unique opportunity to identify abused children and to start healing process that will restore safety in their lives. The most important ingredients in a safe classroom is the teacher's attitudes towards the student. The most crucial belief that a teacher must have is that a child is not to blame. There is nothing that a child can do to prevent or stop the abuse. An accepting, caring attitude by the teacher will allow the children to trust enough to make the first step towards developing a happy life. Specialized and more intensive teaching, educational support, and counseling resources are needed for this kind of learners.
Next is learners with chronic illnesses.
Learners with chronic illness. Chronic illness is usually associated with older people and not with children. However, a small but significant number of children in Australia suffers from chronic illness, mainly asthma, but also diabetes and cancer, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and cystic fibrosis, along with musculoskeletal disorder and illnesses affecting sight and hearing, and allergic reaction affecting small number of children. To get the most out of their schooling, students with chronic illness needs ongoing and coordinated support with families, teachers, and medical careers.
Implications for learning. Chronic health conditions can cause ongoing difficulties such as fatigue and nausea, but can also become acute, significantly impairing a student's work performance for a few hours or several days. Additionally, the use of medication frequently entails unpleasant side effects. Students with chronic health conditions may experience symptoms such as difficulty concentrating or memorizing, changes in energy levels, or chronic pain, since health conditions have different causes and can affect the neurological, circulatory, cardiovascular, immune, endocrine, or digestive system. They require ongoing medical follow-up and may have an impact on the student's academic performance and the attendance. Although chronic illnesses encompasses a wide range of symptoms and health conditions, they share an important characteristic: an unpredictable waxing and waning course of illness with recurring relapses and hospitalizations, unlike more traditional and better understood disabilities that can be addressed by specific solutions such as wheelchair access, hearing aids, or readers. Chronic illnesses require ongoing flexible accommodations. Students who experience chronic health conditions may also face prejudice and stigmatization. As with many disabilities, especially invisible ones, people may harbor unfair and negative attitudes about people with chronic illness, including assumptions that the individual is faking or exaggerating symptoms, or that they expect special treatment and take advantage of others that are lazy or simply weak. That's why we provide tips for negative attitude. Consider the person not merely the symptoms and effects of the illness. Second one, focus on what she can do rather than what she cannot do. 3. Ask someone with a chronic condition if she can help you gain a better understanding of his or her illness. 4th, make informed decisions rather than snap judgment. In today's age of instant information, it's easy to find facts and evidence about how chronic conditions affect those living with them. 5th, be patient. For people living with chronic conditions, health becomes a big and often time-consuming priority. Sometimes it's difficult to make and maintain friendships and relationships. 6. Share your knowledge. As you learn more about chronic conditions, you can help correct the misconception others may have about it. 7. Become a champion. When you lend your support to groups or organizations that represents people with chronic conditions, you are contributing to efforts to change attitudes and to finding treatments and cures.
What is chronic illness? A chronic illness or a long-term illness means having to adjust to the demands of the illnesses and the therapy used to treat the condition. So there may be additional stresses since chronic illnesses might change the way you live, see yourself, and relate to others. And it is mostly characterized by complex causes, many risk factors, long latency periods, time between onset of the illness and feeling its effect, a long illness, and functional impairment or disability. Mostly, chronic illnesses do not fix themselves and are generally not cured completely. Some can be immediately life-threatening while others linger over time and need intensive management. So, how does chronic illness affect child's development? So, chronically ill children tend to be more submissive and less socially outgoing than healthy children. Further, kids who have lived with pain and physical restrictions may be more likely to have problems relating to their peers. So, students or children with chronic illnesses, they have problems with outgoing or socializing with their peers. So, with that, it really affects their developments, not only individually but also it affects their performances in school.
The effect of chronic illness in schooling. Students with chronic illness may miss a lot of school because they have to go to hospital, recover at home, or attend regular maintenance appointment. And this may lead to difficulty in completing work on time or taking part of exam, decreased academic performance, difficulty in keeping up good relationship with school friends, difficulty in keeping around with school environment, difficulty in participating in some school activities such as physical education and excursion, and lastly, feeling less confidence and less motivated that may affect their self-esteem and body image.
So here are some of the Examples of chronic illnesses. First is asthma. It is a common chronic disease in which it causes the muscles in the airways to tighten and the lining of the airway becomes swollen and inflamed, producing sticky mucus. These changes cause the airways become narrow, making it difficult to breathe. This condition is a common chronic disease, especially in children. Asthma in children is a condition that cannot be controlled. So, uncontrolled asthma, it has a significant contributions to school absenteeism, emergency room visits, hospitalization, all of which can lead to low performance, financial burdens, and emotional problems for children and their parents. Asthma in children restricts the activities of school-age children, such as participating in before and after school activity like cleaning. This kind of activity, a student with asthma should not be participate in this kind of activity because it can trigger to their asthma. The same with the extracurricular activities such as sports or any kind of physical activity. So here are the signs and symptoms of asthma. So in our warning signs, it includes students will have a headache, a stuffy or runny nose, a sore throat, coughing or wheezing after exercise, difficulty in sleeping, feeling moody or irritable, tiredness or weakness during physical activity. And in symptoms, there is chest tightness. You will observe chest tightness, coughing especially at night or when laughing. They will uubo sila if they've laughed too much. Difficulty in breathing, shortness of breath, sleep problems resulting from breathing issues, wheezing or whistling sound in chest when exhaling. So when you observe these things, then this is the signs and the symptoms of asthma attacks. Students with asthma may need to take oral or inhaled medicine. Usually it is found in school nurse office or they have their own. These medicines, oral or inhaled medicines, they will inhale it through using inhalers or what we call bronchodilators. They will use it to calm themselves and to support their breathing. Then also they may also feel jittery, anxious, or hyper after using the inhalers because this is the reactions of their body from the medicines that they inhaled from the inhalers. There are also activities that they will miss. They may miss field trips to places that could make their asthma worse. They may also request a removal of allergens in the classroom that can trigger their flare-ups. They may also need to be excused from physical education or other activities when they have flare-ups. Next is the actions for the classroom teacher. So these are the things the teacher can do in order to support and help the students, especially who has asthma condition. First is teacher need to know which kids in your class have asthma. So it is your responsibility to know which kids in your class have asthma so that you can determine who are the students who need supports and help with their condition. Next is know the early warning signs of an asthma episode or attacks. So yun yung mga warning signs and symptoms na diniscuss ko kanina. So as a teacher, you need to have knowledge about it and you need to remember and aware of it so that you can be able to determine if your students has an asthma attack. Next is you need to have a copy of asthma action plans and review it together with your students and their parents so that you will be able to know what the steps to take in case of an asthma attack. Next is if you plan outdoor activities, you need to be alert for air quality and you need to check the surroundings and the weather so that you can protect the students, especially with who has asthma, so that it cannot be trigger their condition. So next is you need to develop clear procedure with the students and parents for handling school work for missed due to their asthma. So since asthma is not the fault for the students, so you need to give special consideration to the students to make up their assignments and tests that they miss. Next is help the students feel more comfortable by recognizing feelings. So it is your responsibility as a teacher to help your students to feel safe and comfortable inside the classroom, because mostly the students who has asthma, they feel embarrassed to be recognized by their classmates. So if their condition recognized by their classmates, they feel different. So as a teacher, you need to consider that. So you need to consider it, and you need to make a way for them to be able to be comfortable. So in order to do that, you can be able you can also do lecturing. You will educate all your students about asthma. So ipaintindi sa kanila kung ano yung asthma, ano yung mangyayari sa asthma, so that they have knowledge about it, and also they will be more understanding, especially to their classmate who has this kind of condition. Next is know the possible side effects of asthma medications and how they may impact the students' performance inside the classroom. So it is also important to know the possible side effects and how they may impact their performance inside the classroom, because students who has asthma really experience difficulties, especially in coping up with the activities. They cannot be able to participate on it, so it really affects their performance. So you need to consider it. The second chronic illnesses is diabetes. Diabetes, it is a chronic long-lasting health condition that affects your body turns of food into energy. Most of the food you eat is broken down into sugar called glucose and released into your bloodstream. When your blood sugar levels goes up, it signals your pancreas to increase insulin. And there are two types of diabetes. First is the pancreas doesn't make insulin, and the second is the pancreas makes insulin. So in type 1, the pancreas doesn't make enough insulin. Kids and teens who have this type of diabetes must take insulin as part of their treatment, because insulin is the only medicines that can control their blood sugar levels. So the symptoms in this type of diabetes are frequent urination, excessive thirst, extreme hunger, dramatic weight loss, irritability, weakness and fatigue, and nausea and vomiting. In type 2 diabetes, or the second type of diabetes, which is the pancreas makes insulin but body cannot respond to it properly. So it is called insulin resistance. So most people who have this kind of diabetes, they are overweight, because extra fat causes insulin resistance. So they do not need to take, but they may take a pill to help control their blood sugar. So the symptoms of the type 2 diabetes are increased thirst, frequent or night urination, blurry vision, unusual fatigue, dark skin around the neck and armpits. So having too much or too little sugar in the blood makes a person feel sick. blood sugars can check with the blood glucose monitoring system. People with diabetes must check their blood sugar levels regularly throughout the day. Diabetes can be managed through medicines, diet, and exercise. So students with diabetes may need to go to school nurse and monitor their blood sugar levels several times a day. They may also need to take insulin and wear an insulin pump. They may also need to drink a water bottle and use bathroom frequently. They need to eat lunch and snacks at a certain time and eat snacks in class. They may also have a symptoms of high or low sugar. So what teacher can do in order to help and support these students? So students with diabetes may miss class time or be absent due to doctor visits or hospital stays. So as a teacher, your students needs a special consideration. So you should give a special consideration for them to make up their homework and assignments that they missed. Next is people with diabetes can exercise and play sports at the same level as anyone else. Unlike with the students with asthma, they cannot be able to participate in any kinds of vigorous activities. But in diabetes, students who has diabetes, they can be able to participate in any kind of exercises because regular exercises is a part of their management plan. So as a teacher, you need to encourage them to do exercise, and you need also to remind them to check their blood sugar level always, and remind them to have a snack every time.
Maying gabi sa tanan. Karon na ako sa isa ka interview para sa amuang report regarding sa learners in difficult circumstances. So isa ka example sa akong mahatag is kanang broken family, or isa ka learner na nagdako siya na uban lang niya iyahang mama lang niya o iyahang lola. So wala siya nagdako, wala siya father figure, wala siya nagdako na kauban ng iyahang papa. So kauban na ako karon ng isa ka parent na naa siya anak na naga-grow with kanang broken family na wala siya papa. So introduce na ako siya si May, parent siya na siya anak na naa sa public school gihapon. So dara si May.
Maayong gabi sa tanan.
Ito. So, ang ako alang interview o pangutana sa imuha Ma'am May, no? So, Ma'am May, kanang ang imuhang anak, unsa siya na grade
3 na siya karon.
Okay, grade 3. So, ang grade 3 na sa mga 8 years old, 'di ba?
Oo.
So, since bata pa gyud siya, as 1 year old pa gyud siya, kabalo ba siya sa iyang sitwasyon karon?
Wala siya kabalo jud kung sa sitwasyon. Pero kabalo siya nga nasa papa. Pero wala sa kaila.
Okay. So, kanang ingan ana na sitwasyon niya Ma'am May, nabay na bag-o sa iyahang behavior or attitude na ang iyahang kauban permanente ikaw lang og iyahang lola?
Kung bad wala man, sa good siya nga side kay mupalangga siya mga babae, mga inahan, mga lola. Hawad siya mupalangga og yung anak kay more man iyahang na sa iyahang kinabuhi.
Okay, karon Ma'am May, no, dito ta sa iyahang behavior na pod sa eskwelahan, di ba? Nag-eskwela naman siya. So, ang behavior ba niya sa eskwelahan nabay na bag-o or kanang unsa siya sa school na kanang ingana ang iyahang situation?
Sa school ug sa balay parehas lang man iyahang kaning performance. Daghag maestra nga ganahan sa iyaha, daghag mga bata nga ganahan sa iyaha, masugo, kaning duol siya sa mga maestra nga babae, nga mga feeling ko diya nga mama, ikaduha na niyang mama.
About mamay ka nang sa academic sa bata, naabay ka nang nabag-o sa yaha or nakahatag ba siya og positive or negative sa yaha?
Wala man. So in terms sa academics, kay kuan man pud siya. Howd bang pud siya mo kuan, mo catch.
Okay. Siguro mamino ka na ang upbringing sa inyong family mo'y naka-add pod sa iyahang, naka-boost sa iyahang confidence na maging maayo sa uban pod niya ng mga classmate as well pod maayo sa uban ng mga kanang duol sa iyaha. So, si ay muhang bata ba karon Ma'am May kanang wala ba siya kanang ini na sakit na dulot sa kanang iyahang mga nahunahunaan karon na basig kuan kanang na siya na feel or kanang mga ini chronic illness?
Wala man hinuon siya. Sukad pagkabata, wala din siya nadala na mo sa hospital. Mayo-mayo. Hantod karon kay good health man jud gihapon siya.
Okay, so maayo kayo na kanang nakahatag pud og positive side ang kanang iyahang difficulty or yung socio-emotional na iyahang na feel kanon in spite na wala siya father figure, di ba? Okay. So, salamat kay Ma'am May sa interview na to karon o salamat pod sa imong higayon sa oras na imong gihatag sa amua para mahatag nimo or ma-share nimo sa tanan ang imong experience about ingon ana ng mga learner na to. Salamat kay Ma'am May. Dinha nagtapos ang ako ang interview regarding sa learners in difficult circumstances. Maayong gabi sa tanan. Ako si Ann. Isa ka inahan na ako'y isa ka grade 4 na student na nag-eskwela sa isa ka public school diri sa Kalinan. And since 6 months old pa siya, he was diagnosed with asthma. So, asthmatic siya. Now, I would like to share some experience of mine na makahelp sa amuang lesson, sa amuang topic karon. So, as a mother, isa ka inahan, I am so worried kayo sa akong anak, especially if kanang maka-adto siya sa school or sa lain na mga places na maka-trigger sa iyang asthma. So, since naman siya asthma, ang akong experience is pag mag-asthma attack siya, na siya'y ubo, perminti siya mag-ubo, tapos magdisod na siya o ginhawa. Now, sa sending him to school, usually ginapadalaan ako siya sa iyahang inhaler. So, na siya inhaler na dito iyahang tambal if ever na kanang mag-trigger ang iyahang asthma. But, sa school, gina-notify na ako ang iyahang teacher, ang iyahang advisor, na naa siya ingon ana na kondisyon. Para, if mag-atake man dito sa classroom, kabalo na siya, as well as ma-assist pod siya sa teacher unsa ni buhaton. And of course, ang school pod nag-assist sa amua as parent na sila pod sa ilang guidance office, kabalo sila na naay asthma condition ng akong anak. Now, sometimes ang cause niya na mag-trigger is smoke, usahay pod mga abog, usahay pod kanang sa environment na kanang mag-trigger sa iyang ubo kana. Usually mag-flu siya, pero ang kanang mahitabo gyud sa iya is kanang nagaubo siya permanente o maglisod siya ginhawa. So kato siya na siya medication na inhaler every day na or every time na mag-trigger ang iyang asthma. Tawag na akong anak. Rain! Come here. Okay. This is Rain. So, naa siya'y asthma. But now, kung naa siya yung medication sa iyahang lungs para makasurvive sa iyang asthma. Say hi!
Hi.
Bye-bye!
Bye. That's all for our report. Thank you.